Hi, Geoff.
JC, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good.
Well, we've accomplished the first task, getting connected. This is excellent.
Yes. Is this good? Or am I getting cut off? My head getting cut off here.
Your head's a little cut off, but if you can
Okay.
tilt up just a little bit.
There you go. I think that works.
Yeah, that looks
Uh,
good.
all right. Awesome.
You got yourself out in the outside, it looks like.
Yeah, we're sitting. I'm sitting out behind our home here. The grass is really high, but our red barn block is just behind me. So
Oh, fantastic. Well, I
I
see
was
folks joining, so
great.
maybe we'll wait just a minute while folks join us. I've got
Sure.
both my bottles of wine open. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so am I. I haven't tasted the 17 in a while, so it was actually a nice treat to open the 17 and the 18 and do a little comparison before we jumped on.
Excellent. Well, what a wonderful day way to spend a Saturday. I was so excited. I'm like, ooh, I get to taste wine at noon. That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and today's the first day of spring, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
happy.
And you're living the dream right there.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice day today. We had some rain the last couple of days, so it's a much needed rain for sure. We're a little light on the rain this year out here, but today is a nice day.
Yeah, that's the one thing about living in California, right? We always need more rain for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm thinking, Geoff, it's 101, or excuse me, 12:01. My apologies. I'm still getting used to this time difference here, and wanted to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Wap and Wine Month and one of our Instagram lives. We're so excited to have you on board with us today.
Thanks. Great to be here.
And for those of you joining us live, I have Geoff with us from Domaine de la Rivière. And we're going to really get into some background. We're going to taste some wine, hear about what's happening in the vineyard right now, and just really have some fun over the next 20 to 30 minutes. So if you haven't already, grab a glass of wine and join us because we're going to have a really, really lovely time. So Geoff, to maybe kick things off, talk to us just a little bit about the brand. It sounds like you were grape growers first and foremost, and
Yep.
we actually have the privilege of tasting your inaugural vintage today.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, we do. So a little bit of background on us. We're originally from New York, so we probably took the non-traditional route, if you will, to getting to wine country. But our love of wine kind of drew us here over a number of years as wine enthusiasts, and then we also kind of just basically loved being here. Wanted to figure out a way to get involved in this wine environment and community. And along the way, both Marla and I, my wife, had a great experience with wine in both of our previous careers. So in Marla's case, she spent 20 plus years at Fairmont Hotels, running their group sales. And part of that, obviously, in the hospitality business, wine is an integral part in all of that. And for me, I spent the better part of 20 years in real estate investment banking. And during my career, I ended up working with some pretty well-known vineyard developers and owners in the Napa area. And that experience kind of accelerated my interest in wine, where I had to understand and learn why you choose vineyard sites and everything behind the scenes that goes into making a bottle of wine, which was truly kind of eye-opening and inspirational. And it was on one of our trips in 2010 that we decided to plant a second flag here for our family, and we ended up buying a 20-acre parcel that had 11 acres planted of Pinot Noir, and so we became growers. This is our 10th growing season, so we're really excited about that. And then along the way, we decided to start our label, Domaine de la Rivière. And we're located in the middle reach of the Russian River Valley. And so we're really just focused on making small lot, limited production wines from this neighborhood within the Russian River Valley. And so we embarked on that that journey, if you will, and which kind of brought us to World of Pinot. This is our third year that we're part of the World of Pinot, and it's been fantastic. Our two live experiences, if you will, in Santa Barbara were fantastic. We met a lot of great people, and so that's why we're here today, to talk a little bit more about us.
That's excellent. Geoff, I have to say, World of Pinot is so much fun for me to get to actually bring all of the winemakers together, because I can't think of another event. I mean, I know there are other events, but this one I think is truly so special. First of all, we focus on one great Pinot Noir, which,
Right.
you know, we all get kind of crazy and goo goo gaga about, right? Because it's just awesome when you get like that amazing bottle. And
Right.
second, we get to bring winemakers of all walks of life, right? So those that have been, you know, pedigreed and generations in the wine industry, versus new folks like you coming into the industry. And it's really such a cool collaboration of camaraderie. And I know we're all missing seeing each other in person this year, but I have to say, it's actually been really fun with this new virtual format. I think we really reached people that maybe wouldn't have come to the Bacara Resort, and maybe wouldn't have met you there necessarily, because you're still kind of one of those still fairly new brands that are on the shelf these days.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think this is exciting for us. I think you're right. It actually expands the reach of World of Pinot and expands our reach also. But I would agree with you that being part of the Pinot world or Pinot community is certainly special. And I can tell you that our first event at World of Pinot was certainly intimidating because we were small. We make, you know, roughly 850 cases a year. And so being such a small producer, no one knew us. And I'd say, you know, the first hour or so into the world, our first World of Pinot experience, we were a little scared. But as people started hearing about us from other friends of ours at the event, and actually looking for small producers, it was really our first experience was great. And then the year two was even better because our name was out there. And again, you got a lot of people looking for small producers who aren't necessarily nationally distributed, if you will.
So talk to me a little bit about your name. How did you come up with Domaine de la Rivière? Because I know how hard it is to come up with names these days.
Yeah, you just hit it head on. It is really hard. We had a lot of false starts, if you will, on various names. Our state vineyard is called Vineyard 11 because vineyard, the number 11 is very kind of central to our family there in a lot of different ways. And certainly couldn't use 11 because there are lots of different 11s out there. But all that credit really goes to Marla for coming up with this idea or this name. And it was really with in a discussion with her colleague at Fairmont, who was from France, who was kind of following our journey and was checking in with her to see how it was going with the name. And she was explaining how frustrating it was to come up with a name. And so he started just talking to her about, where are you located? You know, where, and just trying to get a sense to try to brainstorm with her, which is like what salespeople normally do, right? And which is great. And so she said, well, we're literally half a mile from the Russian River where our estate's located. And he's like, well, what about Domaine de la Rivière? It's vineyard on the river. And it was like, she's like, oh my God, that's great. She called me up and she said, what do you think about this? So we worked with our attorneys and, you know, we found out that the name was available. So we went, you know, as fast as we could to trademark it. So, and it actually is an apropos name. As I mentioned, we're literally half a mile from the Russian River. All of the vineyards, our state vineyard and the vineyards we purchase grapes from are all influenced by the Russian River, right? From the fog. So it really connects us, I think, to who we are as a brand.
That's a great story, because it seems so obvious after you tell the story. Of course, you're by the river, but you must have been kind of shocked that name wasn't taken after all the deliberations you'd done.
We were pretty stunned, actually, like, wow, how could that be? And so we think it's actually, not only does it connect us to the river and the coastal influence the river has on our vineyards, but you know, it's also like a nod to, you know, the origins of our of Pinot Noir, right, in Burgundy, right? It's kind of has a French name, and then from a marketing standpoint, I can't, you know, it's easy. You have to differentiate yourself, right, at the end of the day, and I think it's just a cool way to differentiate ourselves from others in the business. So.
All right. Well, I opened these two bottles probably about 30 minutes ago because I wanted
Yep.
to have fresh, but a little bit of breathing.
So did I 30 minutes ago.
Okay, perfect. We didn't even coordinate that one, so that's awesome. Which one are we going to taste first? Are we going with the inaugural or the current release?
So let's go with the 17.
All right.
So it was actually a pleasant surprise to be able to taste the 17. I haven't really, quite frankly, in a number of months, taste the 17. So I guess a little bit about our Middle Reach Vineyards Pinot Noir in general. We really want this to be a what we believe is a really truly very good representation of the Middle Reach neighborhood of the Russian River Valley, which our Wine Growers Association has done a really good job at identifying the different unique neighborhoods within the valley because of the different microclimates. And so we purchased grapes from two vineyards that go into this blend. Star Ridge Vineyard, which if anyone has heard of Star Ridge, it was one of Gary Farrell's original estate vineyards, which is a mile from here. And then El Diablo Vineyard, which was originally a Ulysses Valdez owned and planted vineyard as well. And so the 17 vintage is about 57% Star Ridge and then 43% El Diablo. There's really three clones in this blend. There's Pommard 4, which is from Star Ridge, and then Pommard 5 from El Diablo, and then a suitcase clone that Ulysses planted from Vas Romane, which is UVVR, as commonly known. That's a blend in here. This is about 75% Pommard, and then 25% VR. So this one I'd say is, again, more typical Middle Reach, kind of darker fruit driven. It certainly has a unique contrast to 18. I'd say this is on the lighter side of the darker fruit. So I'd say this has a little bit more kind of strawberry and plum characteristics and maybe a little bit of cranberry. I get a kind of a little bit, maybe a violet, but a very earthy characteristics on the nose.
You're taking me back last year. Evan Goldstein had moderated. We worked with the Russian River Valley group and actually had an awesome seminar. I mean, it was packed. Who would have known many days later, the world changed. But I mean, it's so popular. And I have to say our viewers just really, really love this fruit and love what's happening there in the Russian River Valley.
So we were actually one of the wines that were profiled for the Middle Reach during that event. So yeah, it was our kind of first time where we were highlighted and really felt thankful for that and our inclusion in that seminar. I think it really helped people become aware of who we are in our brand.
Oh, that's awesome. So we at the seminar, do you remember, was it the 2017 we would have tasted?
This was, let's see, it would have been the 2017 that we would have tasted.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. This one spent 15 months in barrel and about 50% new oak that we used in this one.
Nice.
Yeah, I think as a little bit of a contrast to 18, and we can taste it. Different vintage for sure, but the blend's a little different as well.
Okay.
And then
I'm looking at the bottle, only 135 cases.
Yeah, our
this
first
particular wine.
Our first vintage was we were taking it easy and starting out slow, and it was a really small lot for sure, and we're sold out of the 17 thankfully already, and we're well through more than halfway through our 18 vintage from a sales standpoint. So we're really happy, and the 18 vintage was a lot bigger, 390 cases of the 18.
That's great.
What's really different about the 18 vintage, I'd say, is we used about 55% new oak. We aged it only 11 months, but the compositions are fairly similar from a 75% Pommard, 25% VR, but the difference is the blend. It's about a little over 51% El Diablo and a much higher percentage of Pommard 5 in the blend versus Pommard 4. And I think that's one of the differentiating factors between 17 and 18, where you have that kind of darker fruit concentration that you get from the UVVR on top of the darker Pommard 5. And so I think it adds kind of a unique contrast between vintages. It's a lot more darker fruit oriented, darker cherry, dark plum, a little bit of, I'd say, allspice kind of integrated in there, kind of mid palate. 18 needs a little time.
I mean, there's
to
so
open
much
up.
complexity in this 2018. Yeah, it is. But man, it's, you're right. It feels like there's more layers to me than, and not that the 2017, it's beautiful, but I get more of a silkiness in 2017 and a little bit more of a depth in 2018 right now.
I think that you kind of hit it head on. Yep. It's a little deeper, and it needs a little time. With more air, it kind of softens out over time. On the 18, still a little young to drink. You can drink it now for sure, but over time, it's going to be really interesting to see how the 18 develops.
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about aging these wines. You just said it might be a little young to drink. What should people think about in terms of aging these Russian River wines? Yeah,
for us, we're kind of feeling our way, right? We're only 3 vintages in from a bottling standpoint, but we kind of make our wines built to last. So easily 5 years, 7 to 10 plus is really what we're kind of shooting for. But we also like to balance the ability to drink our wines today, right, with the ability to age them. So we really want to strike that balance when we think about the blending process and the aging process.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'm telling you, sometimes when you get that bottle of wine and you think, oh, I should age it, but let me tell you, sometimes the now is when you have to go with these things.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with now.
Especially after this last year we've all lived, right?
Correct.
So, Geoff, you focus a lot in the vineyard. I mean, you were talking to us about the clones. Tell me a little bit of the satisfaction that you get in tasting this finished product, and maybe the relationship you have with your winemaker and how you guys really create these beautiful wines.
Yeah, so it's I guess you can say I'm a little bit of a clone geek, and a clone geek really from our experience that we've had, farming. One of the things that that happened to us during our ownership is, in as much as when we purchased this property, we did all of the requisite research and testing to make sure we were getting, a healthy vineyard. We unfortunately, the performance of the vineyard, suffered after a couple of years, and we ended up having, red blotch, which I think everyone's familiar with. Yeah. And so what we ended up doing is pivoting a little bit and selling our grapes for sparkling, as we kind of tried to figure out what we were going to do from a replant standpoint. And what I ended up doing is a lot of research on clones. And obviously clones matter, particularly for Pinot Noir, in kind of what you're creating in the bottle. And working with a lot of our winemaker friends and vineyard managers, ended up tasting lots of different standalone clones from different parts of the Russian River Valley. And so as part of that replant process, we were originally planted to Dijon clones. Given that we're in the warmer part of the valley and, the soil and the climate here, we wanted to go towards more kind of heritage clones. And so we replanted our state property to Swan, Mount Eden, Pommard, and we ended up getting UVVR from Ulysses Valdez, home estate as well, to plant a couple of acres of UVVR. And though we think those clones are kind of best suited for this location. And so during that research, that's kind of how we came to wanting to work with vineyards with similar clones. And those clones, we think on an individual basis are great, but blended together and having a lot of diversity allows you to do a lot more blending at the end of the day. And so we really think that that's an important aspect of the winemaking process from our standpoint.
Very cool. That's awesome. I'm looking to see if any of our guests have questions. I haven't seen any in the chat so far, but if anybody who's joining us has any questions, go ahead and pop them in, and we'll make sure that we get those answered for you all. So thank you for joining us here today. Geoff, what's been your biggest moment when you kind of left your life in New York and over to farming in wine country? What's been that moment of aha for you?
Great question. I think there's a lot of aha moments, right? When you end up doing something that you kind of had a passion for, it wasn't your career, right? And you make that pivot where it's become almost 100% of your focus. It's never an easy transition at the end of the day. So the aha moments have been, some of the, just trials and tribulations are kind of starting your own wine brand, right? Which is kind of, easier said than actually executed and done. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes and from a marketing standpoint, and really focusing on trying to get the best product to market and to your customers. But I think the aha moment really was blending our first vintage, when you finally can kind of see the result of the hard work that you've done, not just personally but as a family, right? It's really our family who's involved in the business. It's 5 of us with our winemaker Cale Anderson, and so coming up with the name, coming up with the label, coming up with the names of on the bottles, Middle Reach Vineyards, El Diablo, different names that we have for our Chardonnays as well. And then going through the growing season and worrying about the weather and all of that, and finally at the blending table, the end product is kind of, that's your biggest aha moment, really. So
that's awesome. And Central Coast Wine Day was just asking, what's the most challenging aspect of starting your own winery? I think you've mentioned several of them, but is there anything else you wanted to add there?
I think finding your niche is a hard, and finding, and actually going out and selling the wine, right? You have your story. You have to have people willing to hear your story and reach out there. And, it's, luckily we both kind of have marketing backgrounds where we know it's difficult. But it's, it's work, right? It's work to get your name out there and get recognized. So we're thankful to have these kind of events, with World of Pinot, to help make people aware of who we are in the sector.
So we've talked a lot about the vineyard, the winemaking. I want to talk about enjoying this wine. Tell me, what is one of your favorite meals to have with your wine? Whether you and Marla are cooking, or maybe it's a favorite chef preparing something, but I'm sensing you guys probably have some pretty fantastic meals with these wines.
We have some good meals. The great thing about Pinot, it's really diverse, right? So the real simple thing for us is Pinot and pizza. We have a pizza oven here. We make our own pizzas, and so that's one. The second is lamb. We love lamb, and made all different types of ways, and Pinot and lamb go fantastic as well. Those are probably our 2 kind of go-to dishes, that we really love.
I have to ask you something about mushroom risotto.
So someone mentioned mushroom risotto too, as well. That goes fantastic. Yes.
I was just sitting here thinking, like, that would be pretty tasty today on a Saturday to be making it.
Yeah, there's a earthy component to both of the wines that I think would go really well with a mushroom risotto.
Absolutely. Geoff, you mentioned this is very much a family affair. Talk to me now. Your kids are being raised on the vineyard, growing up there in the Russian River Valley. Sounds like maybe a little different than the way you were raised. And what kinds of, I guess, characteristics or qualities, core values are you able to instill with this kind of family project?
Well, what's interesting, what we're, I guess, lucky to be from a family standpoint, is our kids are older. And so our youngest is 20, and which is great. And so our youngest is in college back in New York, and our oldest son has spent a lot of time in the Bay Area. also, and he's still here, and we have a daughter who's back east as well. And so our older son, Duff, spends a lot of time with me in the vineyard here, kind of working with our growers, and he is an integral part of the blending process with our winemaker, Cale Anderson. He has a fantastic palate. So he's kind of involved in a lot of that. Our younger son does a lot of the social media for us and works on our website. And our daughter, we've named our rosé after her. Her name is Shoshana, which is a Hebrew name. A little bit of experience, exposure to helping with the brand.
That's great. You cut out just a little bit there, but sounds like the rosé. Did you say the name of the rosé again? You said it's named after your daughter.
Yes. Her name is,
we're losing you just a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Rashana. Okay.
Yeah. And Shoshana is a Hebrew name that translates to rose.
Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you for explaining that again. I'm not sure all of our viewers were able to hear that part.
Yeah.
So, Geoff, as we are kind of rounding out the half an hour here, talk to us a little bit. You mentioned that you're very small production.
Yes.
Tell me, how can we buy your wines? Where can we find them?
So, right off our website, Rivière.com, and it's easy to get in and purchase the wine right from our website. We've been direct consumer since we launched it. We don't have any distribution as of now, and we're in a handful of restaurants in the Healdsburg area here. In addition to, if anyone's in Chicago and knows Margot Brasserie in downtown Chicago, we're in that restaurant as well. And so, but everything's direct to consumer.
Excellent. And currently tasting by appointment?
And tasting by appointment, we have a tasting room that we just opened and transitioned to at our Custom Crush facility, Grand Cru Custom Crush in Windsor, California. So we do tastings by appointment only, and you can reach out to us on our website as well. We have a link there where you can contact us to set up a tasting.
Awesome. I just have to read a couple of the comments that are here as we get ready to close out, but thank you. Wish you so much success. Love these wines. I think there was another one earlier that said something like, happy spring, Geoff. So when you get a chance, go back and you'll have to look at those, but you definitely have some fans that are following us here today.
That's great. That's great.
Geoff, what do you want to remind folks in closing here today? It sounds like you've got some fans out there, hopefully a few more that are on the way, but thank you so much for joining, for sharing these wines, and would love to hear some closing comments.
Sure. Well, it's really been great to have this experience with the World of Pinot today. Thanks for making time for us, letting us talk about who we are as a brand. One of the things that we really love is to have our wine be part of everyone's kind of special occasion, right? So we really like that aspect of it. So when you're thinking about a special occasion or creating a special occasion, we're happy to help you guys enjoy that by providing our wines. We really have what we think is more of a concierge approach to our customers and our members of our list. And we really try to go the extra mile to accommodate all of their needs. So particularly for special occasions, but.
That's excellent. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being part of our World of Pinot Noir community. This has been such a delight today. I want to remind our viewers a couple of things that are still happening. It's for the first day of spring, and we decided to celebrate World of Pinot Noir all month long. So we've got 20 or what are we down to? 11 days left for our Waupun Wine Month. So check us out. We've got a few more seminars next week, several more Instagram lives coming your way over the next 11 days. But don't forget about our silent auction. Let me tell you, I'm pretty sure Geoff and Marla have donated something beautiful, probably a 1.5, which is usually what we see from folks. So
Yep.
thank you for your generous donation. And I'm telling you, I may have to go on right after and put some bids on because I want this in my cellar, that's for sure. But that silent auction will actually run. There's a tier of them that will close out this Sunday at midnight. And then we'll have the final run next week for the silent auction. There's some pretty cool items on there. So just encourage our viewers to go on and check out the silent auction. The funds raised go back to supporting education in Pinot Noir, which is what our primary mission is as the world of Pinot. So with that, Geoff, thank you. What are you going to do the rest of the day besides sip some of this great wine?
We're going to walk the vineyard, see what kind of bud break we have. I think we just have a little bit, so we're going to just enjoy the weather and walk the vineyard, see what's going on. So,
all right, we'll check you out on Instagram and watch for that bud break announcement. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Cheers,
take care. Happy spring.
Happy spring.
Okay, bye.